This is David with the Paranormal Sessions podcast. Before I say anything else, I just want to thank all the new people that are following me. I appreciate it. Now, this video that I'm going to be discussing, I was hoping I wouldn't have to cover the subject, but it's only getting worse. And what I'm referring to is certain mediums don't like some of the subjects that I'm talking about. And this actually started about 2 years ago. I had discussed earthbound spirits on this particular social media platform, and I'll discuss, what I'm referring to. But when I posted it, I thought, I'm enlightening other mediums that this is how it works on earthbound spirits. Well, within about 50 seconds, the moderator said that it was being removed because a lot of the mediums didn't like what I had posted, even though it's the truth. So let me discuss what earthbound spirits are. This happens when, let's say, someone did a drug overdose, or let's say they're, riding a bicycle, they're crossing the street and some drunk driver hits them. This happens to people that they don't know that they died. Like the children that were in my bedroom, they were basically earthbound spirits because they don't know that they're dead. They still think they're alive, and that's how it works as an earthbound spirit. And I actually had never actually encountered an earthbound spirit till about, this was probably 5 years ago. A friend of mine, we went to a sports bar, and I ran into a woman that I used to know, but it had been a long time. And so she had heard that I was a psychic medium. And so, we're at the sports bar, and I had a drink, so did my friend. And when she came over, I could tell she had had a couple drinks. So she said that her boyfriend keeps appearing in her dreams and that he had died. And she wanted me to connect to the other side. I said, well, this isn't exactly the ideal place to try to make a contact to a deceased loved one. We're in a sports bar. You've been, you've had a couple drinks, and I've had one drink. I go, I don't think this is the right time to do it, but she insisted. I said, okay, well, I'll go ahead and try it. So I held her hand for, I don't know, maybe 30 or 45 seconds, and then she went back. So I figured, this is a complete waste of time. Well, that night when I went to bed, I was ready to go to bed. I guess it would be like a vision, and I see this man, and he's like kind of swimming against waves, because it looks like waves in an ocean. Now, I don't know if that's how it is on the other side after you pass away, but he's trying to get to me, but he's far away. All I can see is basically he's got dark hair, and that's about it. So the next day I text her and I said, I was shocked, but I could see that your, boyfriend was trying to reach out to me, but he's a long ways away. And then I started thinking about earthbound spirits, and I said, did he die suddenly? And she said, yes, he had issues with drugs, and then he had taken some drugs recently, and he died from an overdose. I said, well, that's why he's having trouble reaching me. He doesn't know that he's dead. He still thinks he's alive, and he's trying to reach you. And I go, I don't know if he's ever going to try to reach out to me again. So I told her, if I hear anything else, or see anything else, I'll reach out to you. So the next night, he shows in the vision again, like he's trying to reach me, but he's a lot closer. But I could see he had a mustache. So then I texted her back. I said, did your boyfriend have a mustache? And he goes, yes, he did. I go, well, that was him. He got a little bit closer, but he's still too far away from me. And so she was thinking that, that he is now going to, realize he's deceased. And I said, well, it's possible, but it also might take, a year, 5 years, whatever. I go, because in his mind, he's still alive, excuse me, and he's trying to reach out, to me, to get to you. I go, but it's not working because he hasn't figured out that he's deceased. He still thinks he's alive. Excuse me. So that's what I had posted on that social media platform. And when I got removed within about 50 seconds, for a minute I start thinking, why are they asking that to be removed? Well, some mediums, and there's bad apples in anything, bad lawyers, bad doctors, there's going to be bad apples in anything. I go, and if people hear about that earthbound spirits, they're not going to go to him because they're going to say, well, he doesn't even know that he's deceased yet, whether it's a daughter, father, whatever. And, that's going to, and if they're charging, well, then that's going to impact them. So I figured out right then and there, I go, that's why I got removed within 50 seconds. It wasn't something I made up. I experienced this firsthand. So I thought, well, okay, I'll let it slide. So about, this happened now about a year later or so. I saw all these things on the different channels. This is a demon house, there's demonic activity and all this. So I did another posting and I said, when someone says it's a demon house, how do they know it's a demon house? Have they ever seen a demon? And if they have, do they know what a demon looks like? Because maybe they thought it was an evil spirit and they thought it was a demon, but it's not. I go, I've seen a demon 7 times in 16 years, and some of these other ones, they tend to have or find demons like every weekend, which it doesn't work that way. Now, I don't, some of those people maybe they actually thought they saw a demon, but they're not. And so my whole post was, just because they said it's a demon house, how do we know it's a demon house? Now, if I knew these houses, I could go to them, and if there's a demon, they're going to come at me, since I've had, ones in my bedroom. So that post was deleted too, because if we start talking about that, just because someone says it's a demon house doesn't mean it's a demon house. Well, people who on certain channels, that's how they make their living, that, we're going to go this demon house, and this is a demon house, and I saw demons here and demons there. I mean, I see evil almost every day of the week, and I've only seen 7 demons in 16 years, but these people who aren't psychic mediums, somehow they just happen to find demons every week or every other week. So, of course, that one got removed. And so I thought, okay, I'm not going to worry about it. It's irritating that, I'm giving them actual experience firsthand what I went through about earthbound spirits. So I happened to check on this other platform that had never removed any of my posts. So I figured, okay, that's fine. So I happened to check it, I think, a few days ago. And about 4 of my posts, they were removed because they said it wasn't under the right category, which they've been there for a long time. So I don't know why it took 3 years for someone to figure out that it's in a different category. And quite honestly, I'm not going to repost it, because if I post it to another one that I think would apply, they're going to come back and say, no, that's not the right category either. Because a lot of these mediums are doing blowback against me because I'm cutting into their revenue. I help people, but I don't charge. And I see these people online that they'll do, and I can't remember where I saw that, but this one, she was charging, I think it was $50 a half hour, and she was booked solid for the next 2 or 3 years. So you can imagine how much money this person is making. Now, I'm not saying she's not actually, that she's not helping them at all, but I find it interesting that someone can see someone every half hour and they know everything about them, and how to do this and how to do that. And I've had some people reach out to me, and I said, it's really best if I can actually meet you, hold your hand just for 10 or 15 seconds, and then I can make connection to the person you want me to reach out to. Well, of course, a lot of them are like, out of state, and this one, they're out of that, they're a different country. And they said, well, I'll send you a picture. And I go, well, that's going to help a little bit, but that's not the same as that contact. But, when I saw these other posts removed because it was in the wrong category, even though, like I said, it was there for 3 years, I just about said, what's the whole point of doing this? Because that's one thing that I'm not going to lie about. Because, I've said this many times, and I don't want to bore people who've already heard it several times, but when I'm before God, I'm not going to say, well, I lied about this, so I can get more views, and I made some money. Yeah, I think that's a ticket for the downstairs and not the upstairs. So when it comes to that, the worst I think God can tell me is maybe I got some dates wrong, or maybe one time I thought I saw a demon, but it really wasn't. But I did it with the best intention, because I actually thought that's about all that God can criticize me for, besides all the other things, because like I said, I'm not the most righteous person. But I don't mess around with that. If I see it, that's when I'm going to say it. And if I think I'm wrong, I'll come back and say, and I think I've done that a few times where I thought it was something that it wasn't, because nobody's perfect. And at the time I thought it was this, and it turned out to be not. So, but I just find it that I'm cutting into people's revenue because I'm talking about things that actually happen. And I'll still keep on posting them on different social media platforms, but I'm sure there's going to be certain mediums that are going to complain about it, and then it's going to get removed. And that's just the way it is. I mean, I can never take advantage of anyone when they're trying to reach out to their loved ones and all that. I mean, that's, if you're, and I'm sure there's some legitimate mediums that are really helping people, which is great, but the other ones are just taking it for money. I don't know how they live with themselves, but, there's all kinds, and maybe they have a lower threshold of honesty or integrity. But I just decided I just had to do this video, because I can't believe that these mediums, and I say that in parentheses because, everyone can say they're a medium. I've even thought about times, these ones that are supposed mediums, and I thought about reaching out to them, pay whatever fee it is, and then kind of somewhat disguise myself and say, I'm trying to do this and all that, and I bet you anything, they're going to tell me this whole history or whatever. And then I'm going to say, I'm a psychic medium, and none of that's true, because I know you're not a real medium. But I thought, that can involve, being sued or whatever, and I don't have time to focus on that. But I just, when I saw this other post, after 3 years it got removed, I just about said, what's the point? But then on the hand, I started thinking, well, that's what God gave me, this gift, and I'm just going to keep on talking about the truth. And in fact, I want to go ahead and do, spread, on other channels and things, so everyone knows about earthbound spirits. Because if your husband died unexpectedly or whatever, and some medium says, oh yes, we're going to help you, well, I guess it's not impossible that they can reach out to this person. But if that deceased person died suddenly, they don't even know that they're deceased. So how can anyone reach them? And like with me, I saw that he was, it was like waves on an ocean, and he's trying to get to me, but he can't, because he's still thinking he's alive, and he sees me, and he's trying to go forward. Well, that's not the way it works. So this is a longer video than I planned. And I imagine when I go ahead and post this on some of the other channels, I wouldn't be surprised I get some blowback on that. But if I do, I do. But I'm telling the truth, and so if they don't like it, that's just too bad. And I'm just going to keep on talking about this, because a lot of people get taken advantage of, and I'm not one of them. So I appreciate everyone listening. Thank you.